It is not news that we have had displaced persons from the crisis of farmers and herders running into years that is becoming almost unending. But truthfully, everything that has a beginning has an end. So the commission coming up now, having been established, and is has a mandate to advise government on certain policies. One of the topmost policies to see how the IDPs will return back to the nearest to their ancestral homes. Because if we say return back to the ancestral homes, there are some locations that are actually not habitable yet, because they have been taken over by the strangers that are there. So the government is trying to ensure that they develop strategies on how to relocate these IDPs closer to their homes, and then work on the security issues that will take them back home. It's a conflict that has been, there for 6 years plus. It doesn't seem like we understand where or how to deal with it over the years. That's why it's no longer news. It becomes normal when you hear that people are killed in Benue, whether it's farmers and herders or whatever crisis happens. It's no longer like news. That's why I think that it's not news anymore. We're almost living with it, and it's almost becoming a lifestyle. The commission is established to ensure that they advise government with policies that will foster reconciliation and policies that will help prevent. We're looking at big time prevention of crisis, not just crisis happening and then you're mitigating. So we have the mandate to engage the warring parties, to have dialogue and mitigate, to bring them back to the peace table, to help discussions around peace and security. And for us, human security is topmost on our agenda, to see that the people in Benue State have their lives again. And we see that those strangers, who we call strangers, who are the farmers and herders, who some of them have been in Benue, were born in Benue, we never had crisis with them, we never had issues with them. So when we talk about those who are fighting or killing people in Benue, we want to call them strangers. So we want to see how Benue people, including the herders and farmers who are from Benue, who have resided in Benue for over the years, will be able to sit again on the same table and eat, and have their children play together again, and then have peace return to Benue and get the food basket back with content inside. Have the food inside the basket, not an empty basket. One of the measures is the establishment of the Peace Commission. Before now, there was no Peace Commission in Benue, but in October 2022, Peace Commission was established by law. And in 2023, the Peace Commission has been inaugurated for operations. That is one big step to see how we coordinate all stakeholders and map out all, to the best of our knowledge, all crises in Benue, and bring them into the point where we can sit down, dialogue, and negotiate where negotiation is needed. And then we see that mediation happens for reconciliation. That's one big step. And the other step, the other steps taken by the administration is trying to see how they can promote development, because in the face of crisis, there isn't development. So the government has a blueprint to foster development, bring about projects that can employ the young people who are majorly at the center of crisis, and empower women who will continue to support their families and not let children slip off their hands to become those that will be able to be contracted to carry arms and go for mass destruction. So the policies that we're working on right now is to enable us to see how the state coordinates all partners and all stakeholders who will bring the suggestions to take us to the place of peace. We can't do this alone. That's why we're beckoning on everyone who is out there and desires to see peace. And by the way, let me say this. The peace of Benue is a national peace. You and I know that when there is no peace in Benue, the region will suffer and the country, the state of Nigeria will suffer, because we all know that food that comes from Benue goes beyond the North Central region and gets to the entire country. So when that happens, you also know that there are major connection routes that go through Benue. If you want to go to the east, you want to go to Taraba and all of the north west, sometimes you also need to pass through Benue. So it's very important to have peace in Benue, so that even the major roads that take you away, there are times that these roads are blocked. It's not productive for anyone who has serious business to pass through that road. And people get to be scared of not going through that Benue again, because you're not sure where you'll be caught up with any crisis. So I think the peace of Benue is a national peace. It's a discourse that should be a national discourse and not just a local state discourse. But all the same, it's one step in the right direction to bring us to that point where it becomes a national discourse. First and foremost, it's very important to know that in the face of crisis, there won't be anything meaningful, or any meaningful discussions. And so the first thing Benue wants to have is to have a peace summit that will not just be for Benue. The peace summit is going to bring in people from the peace map of the region. So this peace map means that it's not going to be just North Central state. It's not useful if you have only North Central states coming to have a conversation of peace in Benue. Benue borders with Taraba. Benue borders with Kogi, which is the North Central state. But you have Benue bordering with Cross River. So it cannot just be a discussion around the Benue, the national map, the country map, or saying we're not central or not we're a North Central region persons. But the peace map will bring in people, states that are bordering around Benue and where crisis. Cross River will come in because we have always had crisis with the Cross River people. So one thing I like to always talk about is to say that many times when we talk about crisis in Benue, the first thing that comes to mind is the farmers' headers. Yes, I agree, because this farmers' headers has claimed a lot of lives. This is why it's very prominent. But again, we should realize that we have got into communal crisis in Benue that's also claiming lives. So it's very important to bring all of that together. And that's why for us, our mandate first and foremost is to map out all the crises in Benue, try and see as much as possible that we have a map of the crisis in Benue, which will now give us a focus on the interventions that we need to bring in. And of course, development is what is going to help to have a peace discussion. To have any table for peace discussion, you must bring in the issue of development for the people to know what is in need for them. If you say ceasefire, so what is in need for me? In the past, we had what you call peace forum. And this peace forum brought stakeholders from all of the warring groups. They had a common table where they sat down and had discussions and tried to mitigate. But like you know, whenever coordination is not effective, so much of those good plans can come that they may not be able to strive as they should. So the Peace Forum was engaged, and I can tell you, it gave a bit of peace to Benue, because once they sat down and had conversations, things happened. But they were funded. Nobody can just walk to a meeting. Most time people want to be supported to do these meetings. And when those supports were no longer there, they hardly had meetings. But I want to tell you that with the establishment of the commission, we are activating the Peace Forum. As I speak, they already have meetings here and there. The first meeting we had, developing a strategy, trying to develop a strategy roadmap. We had all of this Miatiala, farmers headers, religious leaders, traditional leaders, youths, all of these stakeholders were on the table. We all brought them in to see how we can together think and develop strategies that will help us implement the agenda of peace for Benue. In everybody's opinion, mine is to coordinate those responses and ensure that they are positive and they are productive. And so when people say we were not invited or we did not participate in the development of the law, I'm not going to say you were invited, because I don't know. But what I know is everyone is hurting. It's not just the farmers that are hurting. The headers are also hurting. And so I know that if truly the agenda for us is to see how we can have a harmonious living together, then we'll all come to that table. If a law you think did not bring you in, you will come now and we'll sit down. We're open. We have invited everyone. That's why we invited the Miatayala to come to the table for the development of the strategies that will be implemented, because we didn't want anything that we're doing that would leave any stakeholder behind. So we got them in, and they came and they spoke. They sat in the different groups and they made their own contributions. So I'm trusting that with the information which they have shared, and they made open their grievances at that meeting, will implement those strategies. And of course, like I would repeat, I am coordinating everyone in this respect to be able to bring out those grievances so that we can dialogue and see where mediation will come in, and then make it, whatever engagement, productive enough to help us to bring peace. We are not going to be doing that without the Mietiala. So if they have an issue with how the law was developed, we are open and we welcome them to bring in their challenges. And that's why I told you that the commission is a step in the right direction, because it's coordinating to ensure that the authorities here, and just also to mention that we are not an agency, we're a commission. So you know that we're established by law. So we're going to be listening to everybody. We're not a political organ. We're going to listen to everybody and take everybody along to ensure that we have peace again in Benue. Yeah, land is a big factor, but there can never be any policy changes or policy management to have this issue of land completely managed in the proper manner that would give everybody peace without the sitting together to have a discussion. And I think that is what we have begun to do. We have brought in the stakeholders. We are coming back to validate what they came together to say. This is what we have agreed that we should do to have peace again in Benue. When we come to the validation table, they will validate. And until then, we will begin implementation. We don't want to go and start doing anything without getting the views of the people and carrying everyone along. So there will be, I don't think it will be getting to have any policy change or any policy management for land to be effective if we do not have these consultations and ensure that whatever understanding we are bringing to the table for discussion is our own ideas that we have put together from all the stakeholders that we've come out with. And so it won't be difficult for people to accept or implement what they have agreed, this is what we do. And until then, we'll begin to talk about whether policies will change or not. Like I said earlier, we have all of these good plans, but we can't do it alone. I mean, everybody has to be involved, from the private sector to the non-governmental organization to the religious leaders and traditional leaders. And so we first and foremost have decided to coordinate the fragmentation that has existed in the implementation of all of these activities of peace. We want to see how we bring everybody under one roof and coordinate to have one response as far as peace is concerned or conflict management is concerned in Benue State. We want to have a mechanism that is one mechanism for all. So when you come into Benue as a development partner, you will need to, as you want to work on any intervention of peace, you will need to come work with the Peace Commission. We appreciate the support of every NGO, both national and local. And I will tell you that I'm very proud of my community where I come from. I come from the humanitarian and development community to become the DG today. I'm very proud of them. We have started and they have been top on it. I have partners who have come on board to help us with the strategy that we're developing, partners who have come up to help us with the inaugural meetings, who have partners coming in from everywhere to come and support us to see how peace return to Benue. And for me, I think that coordination is very important. Even before we started, we can see that development partners are already interested and they are coming in to support us in one way or the other to ensure that the work goes on. This means that peace is a concern for everyone in Nigeria, and they want the peace of Benue to be established. Yeah, government does not provide allocation for budget in the middle of the year. The commission is only 3 months old, and we're only going to the budget table between September, October. So we can't be talking about government budget right now. What I can tell you is I have the commitment of the state government of the day to see that this work is done and done properly. But in terms of budget, until we get to that table, then we can talk about that. We're only 3 months. We are trying to work at policy levels. That does not mean that we're not having discussions with those affected communities. I worked as an NGO on the community with IDPs for many years. I know, I may not know where the shoe is pinching, but I'm very close to that pain because I am one of the persons that first supported in establishing the camps when this crisis started happening. My organization is also the organization that did the empirical data for the displaced persons. So I can tell you that I've been quite close to that situation. But for now, in terms of the commission, we're not able to do anything. We don't want to just wake up and begin to do things that are not coordinated. And that's why I'm still coming back to the issue of developing strategies to be able to engage, and then we'll be able to develop action plans or work plans for implementation. For now, I can't tell you that we have done anything specifically. What has been giving a few palliatives here and there. I can't say, I can't put my finger on exactly whether it has gone to the affected community, but I know he has been giving some palliatives here and there. He gave fertilizer to farmers at very subsidized rate. And I think it also had to, I'm sure it should have gone to the IDP camps. I cannot be authoritatively say that, but I think it should have, because it was meant for everyone, farmer in Benue. Of course, the challenges with implementing response at the camp or giving assistance at the camps, they are always there. There are many challenges because there's nothing you have that is going to be enough for people who are really in need. That's the first major challenge. So the challenge will be that every time you want to have a distribution, there are challenges of people thinking it may not get to them and then trying to hijack whatever you have brought. There are also challenges of trying to get these people believe that you can still keep your children in the midst of not having so much. And so you see challenges of people trying to give their children out to go and work for other people and maybe reduce the burden on them and they feed there. I mean, you can't blame them rather than watch your child to die. There are also challenges of camp coordination. Sometimes camps are not very well coordinated for response. So when you come in, it's difficult to provide a response that should be meaningful, no matter what you bring in. You know, so for me, in terms of data, there are new arrivals, and then there are people who are displaced within this secondary sector, sometimes even third level displacement happening at the camp. So you see that data is distorted. So you have to go back again and try to do enrollments. I mean, not only the existing data that you have. So those are challenges. And then, of course, funding can never be enough since the development partners are not so much in Benue with the quantum of people that are at IDP camps. Whatever you bring in is like a drop in the sea. And so it's never enough. The commission is a commission for peace and reconciliation. So we have the mandate to foster reconciliation and ensure that we broker peace with all those that have need for this. But like you know, the issue of ensuring that they go back to their community does not rest with the commission because we are not a security agent. Where there are security challenges, I'm a humanitarian. I am not going to ask people to go back to a place where it's not safe. And of course, by the standard of humanitarian, they are supposed to accept to go back, not to be forced to go back. And because it doesn't work if you force them to go back. Nobody wants to be staying in such tents, in such ungodly conditions. So if their places are safe for them to go back, I think that they will not even be asked to go back. They will go back. But the situation is that most times when people attempt to go back and they go back to their farms, they don't come back alive. So people who are back here, who want to be alive, at least for now, don't want to go back. So for me, it is a call to the federal government to see how the intervention for security of lives and property will be ensured in the local communities and ensure that when we are asking these people, like I said, I won't be part of those who are asking them to go back because I uphold the principles, the humanitarian principles very close to my heart. So I can only do as much, maybe help to do some trauma issues with you, trauma work with you, try to do some counseling and see how, if mentally you are stable and you think we should go back, well, that's your decision. It may not, it's not my decision. But the federal government has what their part is to do. They are the ones that have security at their, they have the powers to deploy security to ensure that communities are saved and the people can go back and ensure that when they go back, they don't go back to the returning corpse.